So without further ado, we'll launch into the agenda with our good friends at IT IQ Recruiters. Khaled Hasna will speak on a monthly update.
Hey everyone, I hope everyone's doing all right. And thank you for having us, guys. Always a pleasure to be here. I got to be honest with you, when I was doing this presentation this morning, I was a little bit lost on how I could add the most value today. We've talked about public sector, we've talked about SaaS clients before, interview tips, resume tips. And so I decided to go a little bit of a different route today. And I just want to try it out and see how much value we can offer, and hopefully get some feedback on it a little bit later on. But without further ado, this is the market update for September 2020. So much of what we've been seeing has been the same. Lots of government opportunities in Calgary and in Edmonton. So the government is hiring across municipal, provincial, and federal, across various IT specializations, domains. We've been seeing a lot of Scrum Masters, software developers, not so much on the PMO side, project management and business analysis and that kind of stuff, but a great deal in web development, DevOps, cloud technologies, and things of that nature. And then within our own very city, we're seeing a huge boost in the SaaS companies. They're doing very, very well based on the ones that we know and that we've chatted with. Mainly in fintech, lots of fintech opportunities out there, companies that are doing everything from Bitcoin to a client of ours, or not a client of ours, but a client that we've been trying to get. And they do essentially payday, not payday loans per se, but they pay out, they allow you to essentially pay out your paycheck earlier than, bi-weekly or bi-monthly. So lots of fintech opportunities is really what we've been seeing. And I wanted to offer up some things and some notes on how to get noticed and things to be on the lookout for when you are applying. So the biggest things for these SaaS clients is that although they are in the tech sector, obviously, a lot of their HR people, if not most of their HR people, are not technical at all. So the most important thing that you can do for yourself is showcase your skill set up front. This is absolutely critical. It'll essentially allow for the non-technical HR person to validate bringing you in for an interview. And we'll get a little more into this. This is essentially the peak of what I'm trying to share with you today is getting noticed and giving yourself a fair shot. So yeah, things like your GitHub needs to be tip-top. Any repositories that you might use, if you're a game developer, work on doing some games, any personal projects, personal websites where you're utilizing the technologies that you're talking about, that's going to be absolutely critical and should be front and center. Another thing that I've noticed, especially in the IT space, is they're a little more hesitant to use LinkedIn to actually broadcast themselves. And I think oftentimes that's because they get so many recruiters that bother them with opportunities that aren't really up their alley. So I think that's something that it's a double-edged sword, where if you put yourself out there on LinkedIn, you're going to be contacted more with good and with bad, from my experience anyway. And then this is kind of getting into my next point here, is we've had a great deal of success utilizing a tool that helps us not only qualify candidates, but even if we were able to qualify the candidate, essentially prove to the client that the candidate can do what they say they do. And we would like to share these assessments with everyone here today, and hopefully in the future, all for the purposes of furthering your application and getting noticed. So ITIQ would like to essentially share these assessments with everybody here today, and everybody within the group. You're all welcome to request these assessments. And what we were thinking of doing was issuing either a Python or R assessment to the candidates that choose to opt in. So essentially, it's a multiple choice Python 3 or R assessment that you can use at your own time. It would take you about an hour, maybe an hour, 15 minutes. And it is multiple choice. The instructions are all there. It's pretty straightforward, but essentially it won't allow you to cheat. If you try to switch browsers and things of that nature, it'll assume you're cheating. So it's a very professional tool that we use. And I would say upwards of 80% of the candidates that we successfully complete these assessments with get job interviews, either within our purview and the clients that we have, or all on their own. Another thing about this assessment is it'll give you a copy back of where your strengths and weaknesses are. And it breaks down Python or R or any other language that you might want into the subcategories. So it actually tells you where your areas of strength are, where your areas of weaknesses are, and you can use that within interviews to kind of talk up your skill set. Another thing, as I mentioned, is they do help us secure interviews and secure jobs. So what I recommend to anybody that does choose to opt in is to take this assessment and use it with every application that you use. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're applying at Shaw and you go and you submit your resume for a data analysis role. They usually have a section where you can attach additional files. I recommend that you use this test to further your application, as we have used it internally, and it's been very, very successful for us. So yeah, that is essentially the brunt of it. Now, how this is going to work will be quite simple. If you're interested in completing it, you'll have to let us know via email. So you'll send an email to myself, khasna@itiq.com. And in the header, just write IKM assessment and then Python or R, whichever assessment you want. And we'll send that out to you. I'll also need your legal first name and last name, only because this will show on the assessment. So when you go to prove that it was actually you that did it, you'll need your legal name. Another thing that I want to point out as well is we're only going to send one test out. Now, if you want Python and R, we can send you both tests, no problem at all. But what I mean is once we send you the one, that's all we can send you. Will not allow us to send another one based on the integrity of the results. And the last thing as well is if you do want to proceed with this, there will be a 14-day expiry date on the assessment. We can extend it if we need to, but it'll be 14 days. And I will need you to let me know by Friday. So I will need you to email me by Friday the assessment that you want to complete. And I will have it out to you early next week, probably on Monday. So yeah, again, anybody that's interested in doing this, I highly recommend that you do. Just so you guys know, we are not going to share these results with anybody. This is strictly to help you guys get noticed and help push your applications. And I can tell you that it does work. Now, if you don't do so well, another thing that will be beneficial is it'll at least tell you the areas that you need to work on and the areas where you excel, which I think will also add some value as well. So yeah. Questions? I suppose I should check the chat.
I also have a question, Khalid, if I may. This is Karang.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for being with us today. Just wondering if there's any specific level of expertise on this. Like, is it for a specific level of expertise for those who do the test assessment on the R or Python?
Sorry?
Which level is it designed for?
So the way that it's designed is nobody aces it, meaning nobody gets 100% that I've seen. I've seen some great results, but never 100%. And the way that it works is there's 5 potential answers. Of the 5, up to 3 can be correct. And let's say that 2 out of 5 are correct and you select 3, you will lose the point on the additional one that you have selected. Now, another key thing as well is if you get an answer right, it will get harder and you'll know you're doing something right. If you get an answer wrong, it will get easier. So it's one of those tests where it can get to very, very basic, or it can be incredibly detailed and really get into the meat and bones of the language, whatever language it may be. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know if I did. So
yes, thank you.
Awesome.
Khaled, does the tests target a specific persona, i.e. a data scientist or a data engineer or software developer?
It does a little bit of both. So the thing with Python in particular is that Python can be used as a development language, or it can be used for data science, or it can be used for a million other things, even just data handling and cleansing and so on and so forth. So to answer your question, I've had data scientists complete it and they've done very well. I've had data analysts complete it and they've done very well as well. So I think it covers off a little bit of everything. Now, the data scientist did mention to me the few that I've worked with on the Python assessment, not the R assessment, but the Python assessment, that it doesn't necessarily encompass all of the capabilities that it has as far as data science goes. But what it does is it breaks down the language into subcategories. And from there, you can kind of look at those categories and see, okay, this is for development. This is more for data analytics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I think I read between the lines, though, and you're really saying there's an unmet niche of tech-savvy HR people that we need out there, right?
Yeah, you need more guys like me, I guess, but not even that. I mean, it's more often than not, these HR people, they're not technically savvy, so they need an excuse to go to their boss and say, we need to bring this person in. And when you're transitioning careers, the more that you can show up front, and this is again going back to the point of my entire presentation here, the more that you can show up front, the better shot you're going to have. I can write out a resume in 20 minutes and say that I'm a DevOps specialist and that I want $120 an hour. Until I'm able to prove it up front, I'm not going to get any calls. That's why reference checks are so important. But we find these trump references, because if you have skill set, which, you know, development and data analytics is still a pretty rare skill set, that's going to bring you over the top every time.
Great, thank you. Were there any other questions?
Nothing has come through the chat window, Mark.
I just want to show you guys just my contact details once more. Oh, that phone number is wrong. Must be my office line, but the email's fine for those assessments. And let me go back here. Yeah, feel free to reach out again. We are in kind of our busy quarter right now, which is quite fine. But please, if you can let me know by end of day Friday if you're interested, happy to send those off early next week. And then if there's anybody in the that watches this after the fact, they're also more than welcome to reach out as well. We're happy to send that their way as well. So
that's great. Thank you so much. I'll just copy your email address into the chat, so in case anybody would like to grab that later. There we go. Thanks again. Always enlightening to hear what the world is like right now out there.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you, Khaled. Particularly, this is such a great opportunity to leverage those assessments. You are right. It's in this point in time, it's about how do you stand out from the rest. And so what a great way to make a first impression with prospective employers. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Chen, and I'm one of the volunteers with Untapped Energy. I'm delighted that you've joined, and we've got a great evening planned for you. I am looking forward to the after party. I know we haven't completed the session yet, but just knowing that there's an opportunity for us to connect even further after today's meetup, because it's one of the things that I miss most about not being able to meet together while we're still in this global pandemic. It was during those times when I had face-to-face meetings with people that had some great conversations, created new friendships, because I had a chance to hear someone else's story. And as Mark flips to the next slide, we still find ourselves in a pandemic right now. And that hasn't stopped me from yearning for that type of connection, and I hope it's the same for you. And so what we're introducing into this season of Untapped Energy Meetups is this idea of data flash talks, the chance for you to be known. Because at the end of the day, we are more than the stories that make up, that we have about data challenges and triumphs. We are more than just our own experiences that make up our titles. We are the way that we connect. And so the idea with these data flash talks, it's meant to be a 2-minute talk by members of our community to share a little bit about your story, to talk a little bit about how you've been dealing with the data challenges and triumphs as well. And so we're delighted to host our very first ever data flash talk. And so we've invited David Laditon to be the inaugural data flash talk speaker. David has a bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering and a master's degree in oil and gas engineering from Memorial University in Newfoundland. He has previous experience working as an operations engineer and also as a data science software development intern at a startup here in Calgary. He is currently a software engineering master's student at the University of Calgary, and he'll be looking for opportunities in software engineering and data science in the near future. So I'm certain that David will be one of the first ones to hit up Khaled for that assessment. David, we would love to hear your story and your data flash talk. So over to you, David.
Hello, everyone. First of all, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, David.
Yeah. So, first of all, I just want to thank Team Mark and the other organizers for giving me the opportunity to share my story today. So, when I was asked if I could do this, I was really delighted to accept because, like, joining this, first of all, hearing about this Untapped Energy Meetup and being an attendee was like one of the best things I've done since moving to Calgary last year. So it was around the middle of last year, I started to get interested in data science, data analytics, and started to take it seriously, like as a dimension to add to my petroleum engineering background, and then potentially take it as a career. So hearing about this meetup was really perfect for me because it provided the environment to foster my interest and also like learn about the industry I was trying to get into. So I'm just going to share some of the things I really enjoyed like since I started attending this meetup. So as many of you know, many of you that have been attending the meetup, you know, like at these events, we have speakers come from the industry to talk about data science concepts, tools, technologies, and like the state of the industry and all those things. So like this was really helpful for me because as a newbie then I was kind of like, okay, what tools am I supposed to be learning? What technologies am I supposed to be learning? What exactly is expected of me as a data science professional? Like how does my background like really help me to be a good data scientist? So all these things were like at the top of my mind, and these talks were able to like help me to kind of understand better what I was supposed to be doing at that point in time. And then like even when you come down to like data science itself, so like one of the talks that really sticks out in my mind was we had a speaker that came to, he was like explaining a data science concept of unsupervised learning. And then he was explaining the k-nearest neighbors algorithm. And then one of the interesting things he did was he used the audience as groups of clusters, and then for every stage of the algorithm, he like made the members of the audience to form a group. So like that was really like interesting to me, and then it provided a good visual for me to really understand that data science concept. And then one of the other talks that really stands out in my mind was the talk that Mark gave about deconstructing data science. So like he really touched on like the hype around data science, helping us put data science into perspective, like comparing data science to electricity when electricity first like um, came out, and then everybody was trying to understand exactly the use of electricity. Are we going in the direction of direct current? Are we going in the direction of alternating current? And then it just like showed the parallels between the two, and then like the current state of data science and where we expect data science to evolve into in the nearest future. So like those talks like really helped me to like gain a perspective and really understand like some of these questions I had in my mind. So like I find these talks really interesting, and they continue to be um, really helpful for me as I come to this event. So other things I've enjoyed are like the resume tips. For example, Kali just gave a talk about the labor market, and at many of these events, he gives us like resume tips, how to make our resumes better, and then I use a lot of these tips to improve my resume and work on my resume. So like I find that has been really great for me. Also, like in the pre-COVID days, when we were not limited to just virtual contact and everything, like during the meetings we usually had this section where we had like a small mini hackathon, like a problem solving segment of the meetup. So those kind of things like really helped to mix, like it really promoted mixing and making connections, getting to know people, and then it provided a really good networking atmosphere, which really helped me because I was able to make some connections. I was able to meet people I have like as my LinkedIn contacts now. I've had discussions with them, and then it has really helped me to make connections in the industry. So lastly, food and snacks. Like at every meetup, we usually have like snacks. And I remember there was this particular day we had like jollof rice. Me being Nigerian, I was really excited about that. It was like kind of like a full 3-course dinner, which really like I will never forget that day. That's why I had to add it here. So the meetups just provided a really good environment for particularly someone like me that was trying to find a footing, trying to understand the industry, being new to Calgary, trying to like find opportunities, career opportunities for myself. So this meetup really helped me in that sense. And then on this note, I'd just like to say kudos to the organizers, the volunteers for this initiative. And then I know there are bigger and better things to come. So thank you very much for listening to me on this note. I would like to pass the screen back to you.
David, I don't think that you're the only one that is missing out on the food and snacks. There's something about when food is available, it makes it very celebratory in nature. So thank you so much, David, for sharing a little bit about your story. And for those of you that are part of our community, we would love to hear your story, as would others. So do reach out to us if you've got a story that you'd like to share. We want to give you a platform just so that you can get connected even further. And so as we move into the next part of our program, I want to share with you something very special that just happened. The Society of Petroleum Engineers in Calgary, particularly the Data Science Engineering Analytics Special Interest Group, they have one of the shorter names as part of SPE, teamed up with Untapped Energy to organize a special data event, the 2020 DUC Datathon. And it had nothing to do with quacking and waterfowl, but there were over 150 participants, and this event was aimed at data practitioners and data enthusiasts from all levels of background and experiences. And this event really was to give participants the ability to learn and refine data science skills and techniques, to meet new people and be exposed to new ways of collaborating and working together, and to tackle a real industry challenge using data science. And so during this event, all of the participants experienced a number of features, including access to an exclusive high-quality data set. They were treated to a series of data science boot camps, and then they all had an entry to a data competition and the chance to win great prizes. In addition to that, they all had access to an online data science learning platform, as well as use and access to some world-class data tools, including Spotfire, Tableau, and Cartifact. So this is how it happened. So for the months of July and August, all throughout July, that's when the boot camps happened to really bring people to a certain level of where they can then participate in the competition. We also had hangouts, virtual hangouts, where people could get to know each other and form teams, because when we got to August, that's when the data competition started. And this was done as teams. And by the way, if you're curious, DUC is drilled but uncompleted wells. And really it's a new well that's at the end of a drilling process, but before its first completion process has been conducted. DUCs offer flexibility to producers, but they also face potential issues related to case integrity, reservoir compromise, and also stranded capital. But this flexibility gives DUCs the potential to greatly impact the global supply and demand of oil and gas. Think of it as a tap of gushing oil that can be turned on quickly. And so as we move on to the next slide, one of the objectives of this Datathon was to learn data science. And so we were so delighted to be able to partner with DataCamp. DataCamp is one of the world's largest data science online learning platforms, and they got behind this event. So they gave all the participants access to their premium account, essentially their entire platform. And it was amazing. You would think that normally July and August, we think back to our school days. This is usually when we check out, we put the books down, we don't do any learning at all. Well, there was a 51% participation rate. So people were quite studious. There were over 900 hours of active learning that were tracked and over 12,000 data exercises that were completed. Just mind-blowing. You can see there from the chart that the most popular learning topics leaned heavily towards the Python language. So introduction to Python, even some intermediate Python courses. And then if we move on to the next slide, all throughout July, we had individual data science boot camps. So these are instructor-led, covering everything from introduction to some of these coding languages, to EDA, exploratory data analysis, to data munging, to even boot camps on how to use some of these specific data tools. Not only did we have these instructor-led boot camps happening in real time, but we also made these boot camps available through a YouTube channel so that we could be inclusive and people could revisit all this content. So there was lots of learning that was happening all throughout July. Not only that, we also had Hangouts. So Hangouts was an opportunity for all the participants to get together in a Zoom setting like this, since we couldn't get together in person, to get to know each other and then to see if they could find potential team members. Because, and then as we move to the next slide, that leads us to the data competition. So this happened all throughout August, where we had teams form together and they would compete. The data set consisted of over 10,000 wells and all the data related to those wells in various formations, in the Cardium, the Viking, Montney, and the Duvernay formations. There was both a quantitative element to the competition as well as a qualitative. The quantitative element was a machine learning classification exercise and represented roughly 20% of the evaluation. Used the leaderboard, and that made it fun. Then the rest of the competition was around the qualitative component. So it was identifying ducks in the various formations. Not only that, but it was also to provide meaningful insights that had economic impact on infrastructure, field development. And all of the teams had to record a video detailing how they identified the ducks and how useful or innovative ways could be identified for the industry to make use of some of their findings. And at the end of it, we had a panel of esteemed judges consisting of local data science leaders providing feedback and insights to the competition. And as you can see there in the next slide, this is a snapshot of the leaderboard. So 22 teams consisting of 47 competitors submitting over 300 different entries to try to solve that machine learning exercise. Once again, we're just amazed by the level of engagement and the effort that went into this particular competition. And like with all competitions, there is a winner that is crowned. In fact, there are winners. One of the things and the highlights of this event is that we had so many winners. And so on the next slide, we have the opportunity to reveal the winner of the People's Choice Award, a team by the name of Data Conquerors. And shortly, we'll have an opportunity to hear from Ijoma, Alejandro, Korang, Gabriel, and Mohammed, the team members of Data Conquerors. But maybe before we do that, I'd like you to sit back and watch the video submission for Team Data Conquerors.
Hi, my name is Ijoma. I'm going to be kicking off this presentation on behalf of my team, Alejandro, Gabriel, Mohammed, and Korang. For this presentation, we're going to be showcasing our workflow process for identifying drilled but uncompleted wells in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. We're also going to be showcasing our app that we created for this purpose. So I'm going to jump right into the code. So to determine whether our well was a DUC well or a non-DUC well, these were the checkpoints that we followed. So in general, we first of all checked the current status of the well, and we also looked to see if it had any perf or production data. And if it did not have any production record, we also checked to see if it had any completion records such as perforation or well stimulation. Once we completed that, we're able to come up with a list of DUC wells versus non-DUC wells. So using these Python scripts that we created, we're able to filter out the wells we believe to be DUC wells, and we ended up with a list of 18 wells. So our next step, we wanted to determine how long these DUC wells had gone uncompleted. To do that, we assumed the baseline of the latest production period from the entire production data set. We use that to calculate our days of uncompleted status. So using this information, we're able to create a histogram showing us a range of the values for days of uncompleted status for all the DUC wells. To provide better insight, we decided to create bins for the days of uncompleted status, starting from as little as 0 to 60 days all the way to 3 years. And as we can see, for all the DUC wells, 90 to 365 days is the most common range. So to provide more insight, we decided to also check on the DUC status duration for non-DUC wells. So to do that, we assumed the DUC status end date for all of the wells to be either the first production period, or in a case where that information was not available, the latest activity date. So to calculate the days of uncompleted status for the non-DUC wells, we subtracted the unique rig release date for those wells from its unique DUC status end date. So here we created a histogram for the DUC duration status for all the non-DUC wells to be able to show us a distribution and also the range of those values. And now I'm going to hand over to Alejandro to showcase our app.
Thank you, Ijoma. So Docker Node is a functional prototype app that allows the user to perform EDA and DUC well identification online. This information could allow services companies to identify possible clients and forecast market sizes. The app can be found in dockernode.herokuapp.com. So first of all, what is a DUC? So this is the documentation of the app where we show all the strategy and the workflow diagram that Ijoma explained before. In the EDA tab, you can see the most relevant features of the dataset, as well as a visualization where you can see the localization of the wells and interactive graph of the whole dataset. So you can do something like day drilling, and then the app is going to change dynamically
with your choice. You have as well analysis for production when we join data from the whole header and the production table, and we can have total production and average production by different information, or let's say by province, and then they automatically give you that information. We have as well information for perforation treatments, which are different kind of treatments, the frequency of the treatments per watt, as well as the most common activities. And you can select, let's say, top 4 activities, and you have the 4 top. Now let's move to the Datathon identification. So based on our criteria, we have found a total of 18 dogs. This is the general information for the dogs, as well as the location in geographical location. You can go interactively with the app and see what is the identification of the wall, the formation, and the current operator. We give this interactive graph as well to provide to the service companies relevant information, so the current operator by field and the number. You can go individually by well, just select the ID, and then you are going to have the information of that one. We present here time analysis, how long every dog well has been without producing, and we bind by different time periods. As well, for the rest of the wells, we analyze how long they were dogs at some time. So it seems like around 100 days is the most common, and we have the breakdown here by formation and more interactive graph, so you can play with that. We have even more information in dashboard. So for example, we have by current operator how many dog wells there are and how long they have been dogs. And you can change this easily by different kinds of formation. This is just one formation for this data set. So let's move to prediction. The prediction is the part of the app where we add a really good value, because in 6 months, 1 year, when the data base has been updated with new wells, you can see if it's their dog or not. You can upload the new files in this section. So we have the header, we have the production information, and we have the treatment information, and then the app is going to give you the new insight. So in this case, you have 2 dog walls, and that inside can show you the location and the same capabilities as showed before. You have the time analysis and the dog duration, and the nice thing is you can even perform EDA of that new analysis, showing you the header and the, let's say, perform treatment in that as well. So this is where this app really shines, and this is how this app is gonna let you to identify if a wall is dog or not. Thank you.
So we wanted to give you a sense of the work that was done by this team, and also by all the other teams that had participated in this event. And I'm sure that you'll appreciate that a lot of thoughtfulness went into that, just to make sure that the key messages were coming through. And so now we have an opportunity to spend some time with the winning team. So it does give me great pleasure to invite the team to unmute their microphones. And what we're going to do is we're just going to spend some time talking about the experiences. And so what I'll do is I've got some questions, and there's also some questions that have come in as well too. And so we'll just kind of weave our way through these questions just to make sure that they're all answered. But maybe I'll throw the first one out there to the team. And also maybe an invitation that for the team members of Data Conquerors, if it's your first time speaking, maybe give us a little bit of your introduction, your name, a little bit of your background as well too, so we have a chance to get to know you. But the first question that we'd like to throw out there is, how did you get involved with the 2020 DUC Datathon? What drew you to this event?
Hello. My name is, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Gabriel Garcia, member of the Data Conquerors team. My background is well log analyst, and I have a bachelor's degree in science engineer. Been working here in Calgary for the past 7 years, I would say. since 2014. And yeah, I think I'll start answering the first question. And I would say that I think I end up participating in this event mostly by luck, I would say. I just happened to see one of your meetups guys in the webpage. So I joined, and that drew me to the link to participate in the contest. That was, I would say, I didn't have the opportunity to take the data camp courses. That's a shame, I would say. But I joined straight for the contest in early August, where I just subscribed myself, I enrolled. Then I post in the general Slack chat that I need a team, and Karank contacted me, and he invited me to the team. So I start from there. So yeah, that's pretty much my story. I don't know if some of my other team members wants to share their circumstances.
Well, just a quick adder to what Gabriel was saying, that for me also, I was looking into different events related to data science, and artificial intelligence in general speaking, because I am interested in the topic, not that I'm an expert by any chance. But one of the times that I was looking through the events going on in the Meetup, and I see this very interesting opportunity or the occasion that actually I could get practically involved in a data science exercise that was offered by Untapped Energy in association with SPE. But then I had no doubt in my mind that I had to be in this competition, and that was the reason I joined.
Great. So maybe Alejandro and Ijama got the...
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Alejandro Coy. I'm process engineer. I work at an EPC in downtown. But in the last couple of years, I've been working with Python and data science on the side. I remember my first meetup was maybe January last year, and they were showing the results of the first datathon that you guys did in 2018. And that was so interesting, and I always want to be part of it. I missed the last year. I was traveling for the 2019, so I was looking for this. So this was the first opportunity, and thank you for organizing. It was really good. So that is it was in my watch like long time ago.
Hi, Ijama Odoko. Oh, sorry, Mohammed, are you going to go ahead?
No, you can go ahead. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So my background is project engineering. In the past, I've worked on like delivering pipeline and facility projects. But most recently, in 2019, I went back to school to Sept to do a program in business intelligence. So as part of that, I did an internship, and I guess one of my coworkers told me about Untapped Energy. So I actually went for, I think, one or two of their meetings late last year when they were working on the competition about abandoned wells. And I was kind of like intrigued by it, but at the same time I was intimidated by it because I had zero Python knowledge. So it kind of motivated me to the following year to look into learning about Python, hoping that maybe another datathon would come up that I would be able to participate in. And as we have it, this one came up, the drilled and uncompleted wells, and it was I really enjoyed the fact that there were so many parts to it with the boot camps and the data camp. It was really good. So that's pretty much how I got into into this datathon. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks everyone for giving the opportunity to share my experience here. My name is Muhammad Alauddin, and I'm basically a chemical engineer. I did my bachelor's and master's in chemical engineering, and now I'm doing PhD in safety and risk in oil and gas systems process engineering. So I'm trying to use artificial intelligence, advanced data-driven methods for upgrading safety in oil and gas industry. So basically this Aladdin is trying to develop a genie, the artificial intelligence for the safety of oil and gas systems. And yeah, when I first saw that email of that DUC Datathon, it was close to my heart because I'm already working in that area. And when I gone further into detail of that Datathon, the agenda, it was fabulous because it comprises a lot of boot camps and tutoring instruction sessions. And I think I will be chance to get interact with the data scientists or enthusiasts who are working already on real world data. Because I'm from academic background, I'm working with the simulated data and things. So that was a great platform, I guess, for me. And yeah, it was really, I really enjoyed with that. So this is how I came into that competition. Thank you.
Wonderful. No, thank you all for sharing about that. I think there's maybe some curiosity of how the team came together. So just a little bit of background. When all the participants first started in the Datathon, there was no mention about teams. Individuals were just working through their boot camps. And slowly we started revealing details about the competition. And then at one point, we indicated that there was actually a requirement that in order to submit something for the competition, you had to be part of a team. And the only requirement about team that we provided was that a team had to be a minimum of 2 people. And that was it. There was no guidance about how big the team could be. There was no guidance on did you already need to have a team pre-formed. And so hence there was a little bit of, I think, stress for the participants to try to locate their teammates. So maybe the next question to the data conquerors. So given the team requirement of this competition wasn't revealed until well into the event, tell us a bit more about how you came together. I know you had shared a little bit already. And then also tell us how you came up with the name of your team, Data Conquerors.
Of course, I can answer to this question. Like you mentioned, Tim, our team members maybe discussed in brief and how we came up together. But like you said exactly, it wasn't revealed from the beginning that a team is going to be a requirement to be part of the competition. But it was in my mind because, as I mentioned, my main purpose to be in this competition was to learn in first hand. So, and what was the best opportunity to learn without having a team together? So I was looking into possibilities if I could join a group as a team, or anyways just to come up with a teamwork to finish the project that we have in hand. And when the requirement was revealed, I didn't waste any time and I just started. But I just wanted to mention that in my mind also, I wanted to make sure that the team that we put together is diverse. So I just wanted to make sure of diversity of the team members in our team, because that's where you get basically a venue that all the different ideas from different backgrounds and experiences and insights could come out, surface, and then come to a interesting and admirable result that I am proud of what we achieved. And it wasn't possible without capabilities and knowledge of every individual that we have in our team, and I'm really proud of them. The reason how we came up with this Data Conquerors as the name of our team. So we we wanted to work with data and find a solution. So the data and making a meaningful information out of it would be a challenge for the team anyways. And so not always all the data is as friendly and as clean as you mentioned, teams that is provided to data scientists to work with. So there's going to be some challenges that we need to conquer, the problems and the hurdles. But at the same time, the purpose of the data scientist is to come up with the answers to the questions that is to solve the problem. So there were a number of options, but I think what I found, the data conquerors had the strongest message to show the mission for this team anyways. At the same time, this gives us a more general identity. If there are other possibilities and other competitions, it's going to be, I'm sure, it doesn't have to be specific to a DUC Datathon or any other things. Bring us the data and we conquer it. Thank you.
Great. No, thank you, Karang. Maybe let's explore that a little bit further. This isn't one of the questions that we had sent ahead of time, but what was one of the most memorable things about working with a team that you had only just come together with during that time to try to solve a problem together? What would you say was the most memorable thing for you?
For me personally, it was when we had our group discussions and we were open to the ideas. I mean, there was a time limit for delivering the solution, but at the same time, what I was really impressed with was everybody dedicated their time. It wasn't, everybody has their own personal lives and they're busy with their own personal matters, but they made enough time to make sure that everybody hears and listens to what everybody else says in the team and bring a collective idea of how we want to approach this. So that was one of my good experiences in this challenge.
And then I suppose for this next question, everybody on the team except for Mohammed can answer this, but how familiar were you with the idea of drilled but uncompleted wells prior to the event? And now that you have completed the event, what is your feeling towards DUCs?
Basically, I know that Mohammed had no experience prior, but we discussed this before amongst ourselves, and Mohammed was going to actually answer this question. So if you don't mind, well, then, yeah, I think he prepared something for this as well.
Okay, for sure.
Sure. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Yeah, so let me share my experience with that. Yeah, Tim already mentioned that I was totally unfamiliar with that term DUC. And when I first time see that the title of that competition, DUC Datathon Challenge for Oil and Gas Practitioners, so I thought, what is this DUC? But the other part, the data science and oil and gas, that was highly coherent to my area of expertise. And also the nature of this datathon, that was not simply just a Kaggle competition that you have to write a program, you have to find some accuracy, some errors, and you have to report that, and whatever rank you are getting. It was beyond that. And that was the beauty of this competition, I felt. We had to go into detail. We had to observe, feel the data. We had to play with the data, with the insights of that. And for that, there were many processes in between, the data boot camps, the discussion, the structure of our meeting, our team data conqueror meeting, from the general meeting to narrowed down task level meeting of the related members. So that was very helpful for me. So even though I was not aware with that, Doug, but with the efforts of organizers, the instructors, they were awesome. And our fellow members with diverse background, with diverse expertise. So I was good going with that. Thanks.
Wonderful. Well, this event had a number of features for all of the participants. As I mentioned, the data camp, wide open access to one of the world's largest data science learning platforms. We had instructor-led data science boot camps, access to a clean data set. We all know that data sets require quite a lot of cleaning before you can use it, but we were quite fortunate to be provided with a clean, structured data set. Use of world-class data tools, so TIBCO Spotfire, Tableau, Cartofact, the ability to use these world-class tools on the same data set. We know that in the real-life setting, you don't really have opportunities to do that very often. Prizes that were provided by our sponsors. So of all these features, which of these were most valuable to you as a participant?
I'll kick that off. So I think I speak for the team when I say that the instructor-led boot camps were actually really valuable. Even though it was a lot of material like condensed in like 1 hour per boot camp, I mean, having the GitHub repositories and the YouTube videos to be able to go back a second time around, and also having that interaction with the instructors when you had questions and hearing all the other students, how they were thinking, was really a great help. I would also say that it also helped inform some of our brainstorming sessions that Kurang had hinted about. I think it also helped with our coming up with some of our workflow process in there. Personally, I would say that I really enjoyed the boot camps by Khalid and Scott, and also the Spotfire camp by Michelle. I don't think without Michelle's crash course in Spotfire, I don't think I would have been able to compete in the Spotfire competition. And I think another thing that we probably didn't mention is about the Slack channel. I think it was a really, really good resource that we had because it really helped with the flow of communication as a team and also with like the organizers and even within the boot camps themselves. So yeah, so that would be my 2 cents. Thanks. Oh, sorry, one more thing. The data camp was awesome. So I hope you guys can bring it again next year.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, Ijoma. Anyone else on the team want to share a little bit about what were some of the features that you found most valuable about this datathon?
I can just speak about the boot camps, the instructed boot camps that we had, Scott and Khalid and everybody else, but I found them very useful for me personally. In terms of the insights that they provided, the suggestions, and also a more efficient approach to solving the problems going ahead. That was very useful for me.
Yeah, Teams, I can mention that, all those were very beneficial for us. The Hangout session too, that was very helpful. In fact, if that was not there, I would be very difficult situation to find this team because through that session, I get to this team. Thanks.
Well, we knew that one of the underlying principles of an event like this is making those connections. And understandably, we just thought, well, how might we modify this so that we can still have some of those connections? That's when one of the planning team members said, well, let's just hang out. Albeit it'll be a little bit different from how we normally hang out, but it's still a great way for people to make that connection. A lot of in fact, all of the events as part of this Datathon were conducted virtually, which also meant that teamwork had to happen virtually. And I think, as we've seen, virtual teamwork can be tricky compared to working collaboratively when you're in person. So how did the Data Conquerors overcome some of the challenges with working virtually to maintain strong cohesion and chemistry and workflows towards a successful team submission?
I will take this one. It was tricky. It's difficult, and even more that it was the first time working together. We haven't had the chance yet to meet each other in person. So for sure was difficult, but I think that we use the technology that we have available very efficient. We have basically daily meetings with Google Meets, and then we use a Slack channel and create a private channel for the group. And I think that was an excellent way to communicate. But it was still challenging because we were not able to work together. So we depend in the time commitment of everybody. So everybody has different time to work on the project. As you know, from the conversation, all of us have different skill levels. So we have to merge all that and create the project that we did. So it was challenging, but I think that we did a really good job, and I think that that is reflect that people really enjoy the presentation. And oh yes, there were many drawbacks as well. Like at the end of the presentation, we realized that we lack focus in some important things of the competition. We focus too much time, for example, in the dog identification part, and then we lack a little bit of focus in the value that we provide to the company. So that is lessons that we learn. And yes, of course, if we would be in person, it would be easier, but it was a really fun experience for everybody.
I think one of the things that became very apparent near the end of the data competition, when we had the judging panel give their adjudication, data science seems to be more of an art than it is a science. Having heard from the judges and what it is that they typically look for, it wasn't like Olympic figure skating. You didn't really get close to consensus and maybe just a little bit of outliers. What we heard from the judges was quite diverse. It really depended on where their experiences had taken them. And so that's when we really saw the diverse nature of the submissions. So now that you've completed this, it's been a couple of weeks since we had that closing ceremony. What are some of your personal reflections, and what are also some of your inspirations? And also, if someone wants to find out more about hackathons, what would you say were some of the important skills that you were able to bring to this in order to make this work?
I just gonna start repeating the point that I mentioned before. We like data science. We should focus in the real problem that we want to solve. Know the tools and the fancy stuff that we were learning during the boot camps and the skills that we already brought. So that was my biggest learning, was that, like, if you are gonna tag a datathon in the future, just focus in the answer that we are looking for, and then look for the tools to solve the answer. So we did a pretty good job using the tools. Like I said at the beginning, everybody brought their skills. And the app was successful, that people liked the idea, but then that was our main focus, and then we should maybe focus in the value that we produce. So that is a learning, and it was really good learning, at least for me, and we discussed that internally, and we agree with that. I don't know if somebody else wants to say something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree with what Alejandro expressed with that, and I would add in that a little bit as my remark. the world will see our presentation, not our devotion. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say I'm agree also with you guys. Yeah, feature engineering and all the stuff that we can predict with data is not the whole objective that we have to achieve. Also, we need to come out with a way to use those findings so we can provide not just a number, like for example the TBD or the number of ducks, but also what does that number means and what are the insights that we can take from that piece of information that we produce. But yeah, I would say that for future. Sorry, yeah, just to finish, for future futures experience like this, yeah, I would say we need to focus on, of course, on the engineering part, but the translation of those findings into human language it's probably the most important part of it.
And just adding to what everybody was saying, I just wanted to mention that being in the project environment, most of us at least, might be an advantage for us to be successful in the teamwork as well. Like most of us, or if not all, we have some project experience, and trying to bring things together, work it in a very tight time frame and everything else. I think that wasn't a skill that everybody used, and the spirit of the teamwork, if not the most important, helped us to go through this process successfully as well.
Well, that's great. No, thank you for sharing that. A lot of times we hear about hackathons and we just automatically assume that, oh, it's a bunch of coders sitting off in the corner and they're just typing away and trying to do something. But what we've seen with these type of data events, where it brings together such a diverse group of enthusiasts and practitioners that have all sorts of different skill sets, that's actually the most important part of an event like this, is being able to tap into all of the different skill sets. So it's okay, even if you don't have a lot of data science skills or background, there's still a place for you in this. People with project management skills, what Gabriel mentioned about the ability to translate something that might have come from engineering into human language so that it becomes information that people can make decisions on. Those are the things that are needed. We need people to visualize the data so that it can tell a story. And so hopefully you can see that with this particular group, they brought a lot of those dimensions into it, and it's what forms the chemistry that makes these teams successful. And as with a number of the other teams that were successful in this event as well too, it's typically the ones that had a broad range of different skills that they could bring together. And so with that, thank you so much to Team Data Conquerors. Congratulations again for being the People's Choice winners for the 2020 DUC Datathon. And hopefully this has given all of us a glimpse as to what is possible. We stepped into this event just coming off of a significant change in the world, and we don't know how long this will persist. And so with that, I just wanted to maybe ask if Mark, you can share your screen to the slide. I know we just talked about the 2020 DUC Datathon, but we want to take this time to invite you to get involved with the 2021 Datathon. Hopefully you've heard quite a lot about what this event can be and how it is open to folks with many different backgrounds and skill sets. And so if you are interested, and even if it's to help out with the planning, or if you just want to participate when the event happens, I invite you to sign up. You can do that a few ways. You can go to that URL that's on the screen, or even just take out your phone and scan the QR code. That will take you to, both of those will take you to a form where you can leave some information to indicate your interest there. And so while you're doing that, just again, thank you to the Data Conquerors for joining us tonight and sharing your experiences. We're so delighted that you are part of this community and that got to see a little bit of some of the amazing things that did happen over the course of the summer.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Tim, and thanks everyone for voting us for this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
And I just want to mention, if somebody wants more information about the app and all the code, we can provide all the folder in the GitHub if somebody's interested in that.
Thanks once again for everybody for coming to our September meetup. It was a wonderful experience. Our next meetup will be on October 20th, 2020. Starts at 5:30, and once again will be virtual. So thank you so much for coming, and we'd like to invite you into the back here for after hours. Thanks.